Come on, don't lie. You didn't think we were getting a portal running back either.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me, and Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We'll talk about Game Time in just a little bit. I want to thank you everydayers for being here every day, and want to thank you newbies for being here today. Jimmy, Alabama has secured a commitment from a transfer running back from the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. They will always be ooh la la to me, but Draylon Washington, or Draylon Washington. Draylon?
He goes by Dre, I think. So
okay.
That makes it easy. Dre Washington.
An apostrophe right in the middle of the name. It just sort of, I don't know how to break it up. I'm not good with it.
Cool, yeah. Draylon Washington. But
it is cool.
He goes by Dre, so that'll make it easy for all of us. Look, I think, there's obviously a lot of discussion on it on the BOL board and everywhere else. But, not every guy that you sign out of the portal is you sign. I think people have this general idea that when you sign a guy out of the portal that you're looking for an immediate starter. I think with Dre, it's just depth to the room. Keep in mind that, Alabama already had, 5 guys, and you'd think that's full, right? But Jam's played. Richard Young's played quite a bit, and they're excited about him. He stands a good chance of being a quality number 2 to go with Jam. But beyond that, Daniel Hill, unproven against good competition. Kevin Riley, redshirted. A.K. Deer's a true freshman. So you're just bringing in a veteran to fill out the room, and he's going to kind of compete for carries. But this is not a guy that I think they see as some upgrade to Jam. Now, he's going to compete with Jam, and he's going to be in the mix. But, running back is by committee these days. Very few teams, even in the NFL, very few teams have a bell cow that just carries it 20, 25 times like we all grew up with. Now it's a committee situation, and Dre is going to be added to compete to be in the committee, but not necessarily the starter. Now, how good a player is he? I know people say, well, he wasn't even the starter at Lafayette. Well, no, but he seemed to have better stats than others. This guy has averaged 5.9 yards a carry over the course of his career. I mean, he is flat out a productive back at the Sun Belt level. Now, is that going to translate to the SEC? I don't know. But I just think this is a low cost, by the way. This isn't a go to the portal and break the bank situation. Low cost, competes for carries. One final point, Luke. Jalen Milrow had so many carries this past year. I think we forget all those Jalen Milrow carries from this past year have to be distributed to the backs. A lot of them will go to Jam. A lot of them will go to Richard. There's plenty to go around, right? I mean, the third back this year was Richard, and we saw him quite a bit, or we saw him some. The third back's going to be more prominent next year because all of those Jalen Milrow carries will go to backs most likely. Mute.
Sorry. I think the low cost thing is important because there is a tacit salary cap. I mean, you can say there's not. I mean, there's not in the sense of like an NFL true salary cap. There is a budget.
It's a budget.
And, I mean,
there's only so much. There's only so much, literally.
If I talked about the Branch brothers and went to Georgia. I would have loved to have had both of them, especially Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver. I think he's the best player in the portal. Everybody talk about John Mateer or whatever. I love Zachariah Branch. I think Georgia got a good one there, right? I would have loved to have had him, but I'm just a fan sitting over here not having to add in what it costs for him. Now, there are some teams, it feels to me, are saying budget be danged. We got to win now, so we'll take what we can. And if this affects us later, so be it. but they may also close the loopholes where everybody truly does have not a tacit, secretive, clandestine salary cap. We have an actual salary cap. That may happen. I don't know that it will, but I'm saying it could. And then you can't just go out there and overspend all the time. So maybe some teams are looking at it like that way. I do appreciate Alabama's tactic of, okay, we're going to stay within our means, and we're going to do this as across the board as we can. Yes, some people are going to get more than others for sure. At the same time, you can't just say this one wide receiver is going to get X times 20, and every other wide receiver is going to get X times 1. I think you're creating some serious situation there. And so, look, I'm okay with this guy. And I pulled up his stats. I mean, all this is to come back to Draylon Washington, and to say, okay, in 2024, he only had 73 carries for 478 yards. That's averaging 6.5 yards a carry.
That's really good.
The competition definitely needs to be factored in.
Sure.
Winning the Heisman next year. This guy ain't winning all SEC. This guy ain't even going to be the starter at Alabama. So what he is insurance. Yeah. Not great insurance. He's a $50,000 life insurance policy. It's nice. And I said, I'm pulling $50,000 out, not because that's what he cost, but because I'm saying it's not a $10 million life insurance policy.
I think it's a fair thing to say what he's probably doing is competing with Daniel Hill to be the third back. That's something I'm not saying that's 100% accurate thing to say, but I think that's a fair thing to say because that's kind of the expectation coming in. I mean, like is he RB3? Is he RB4? I don't expect him to beat out Jam Miller and Richard Young, and I don't think Alabama staff expects that. But let's see where he falls. He's clearly a pretty good back, and other Power 4 schools were very interested. As a matter of fact, after visiting Alabama, he went to West Virginia, where they may have pitched him on running back 1. I don't know I'll admit, I don't know what West Virginia's running back situation is, but he went to West Virginia after Alabama, and he selected Alabama. So let's just see where it falls. We obviously have the room. Per my count now, we're around 80. So there's room. And you're not going to win or lose the SEC based on who your 80th player is. So let's not make too much of it.
Let's also say this. I mean, it's just like regular insurance. Every time used to have a friend of mine, we'd get on a plane, and as soon as the plane would land, he'd go, insurance company wins again. But here's the thing. Like, I'm pulling for Dre Washington not to play much, because if he doesn't, that means Jam Miller, Richard Young, A.K. Deere, Daniel Hill, Kevin Riley, they kick butt, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm good with that. But if we need somebody, let's say we go into the Wisconsin game, Jam Miller's a little banged up, Richard Young's pretty inexperienced, A.K. Deere hadn't played at all. Let's just pretend like A.K. Deere hadn't played at all yet. Daniel Hill's played, a handful of snaps. Kevin Riley, a handful of snaps. I'm really cool with sending out there a guy who has had last year had 73 snaps. Year before, 73 carries, 92 carries. And year before that, in 2022, he had 64 carries. He also had 6 receptions for 107 yards with a long of 66. He's averaging 17 and a half yards per reception. So it tells me he's able to catch the ball. He also got hurt last year, it should be noted.
Remember, 3 years ago, you can get banged up at this position quick. Luke just bought it up. 3 years ago, we're playing for a national championship. We had to move a linebacker, Demoy Kennedy, to running back. We moved a wide receiver, Christian Leary, to running back. And we were worried we would have to play him in the games. Christian Leary literally played a couple of snaps at running back in the national championship game.
Wish we had moved a Jihad to running back.
Might not have dropped.
I know. Give somebody else a chance to drop one. But
that's just goes. You can get banged up real quick. And one last point is there's 85 scholarships now. We're probably moving to 105 in a year or two. There'll be 105 scholarship players. We need to get used to having more than 5 running backs on the roster. When we go up to 105 with no walk-ons, I don't know.
How messy is that going to be?
The number that comes to mind for me is 7. You probably have to have 7 backs.
You essentially have double the number of players that are on an NFL roster. Mm-hmm. You also have literal free agency as there are no contracts. So people can just come and go as they please practically. I mean, I know there are maybe a couple of hoops to jump through, but the NFL can be a mess. And I know they got practice squads and whatever, but the NFL can be a mess with 53-man rosters and salary caps and contracts where you say, okay, you can't just leave tomorrow. You've got to be here for another 3 years. How messy are we going to be? So that's something.
In the NFL, when you lose guys, there's an endless pool of guys you can hire. When you lose NFL guys in the middle of the season, but per the rules that are coming in college, your 105 is your 105. That's it.
Yeah. If you in the NFL, the Chargers are picking up Ezekiel Elliott for the playoff run.
That's right. That's right, because they had injuries. That's what I mean by an endless pool of players you can pick up. There are no midseason pickups. That's why you have to make sure you have sufficient numbers at every position, because 7 running backs sounds like a lot, right? What if 4 get hurt? You've only got 3 left in the world. I mean, you can't go get guys like the NFL can. So you need 105.
Game time, because I love game time, and I love game time. And, I had a friend of mine last night reach out to me, an Auburn fan who is going to be in Tuscaloosa, but he was like, I'm going to be there next week. And I would love to go to Tuscaloosa and check out Bama playing Ole Miss. And he said, what's the best place for me to get tickets? I said, game time, bro. I said, I got him for the Peach Bowl. He said, that's crazy. I got mine for I saw him at the Peach Bowl. He's like, that's where I got my tickets. I was like, if you use code Locked On College, you get $20 off. So that's what I would do. And, go to Game Time. Use that code. It's great. It's super easy, and they just make it so it's idiot-proof. I did it with ease, and then the one time I screwed it up, because it's not quite idiot-proof. Nothing's Luke-proof. It's idiot-proof. It's not Luke-proof. The one time I did screw it up, I needed their customer service help, and they helped me every step of the way, got me in to see the Miami Dolphins play Bryce Young's Carolina Panthers last year in Miami. I just happened to be down there, and I said, I want to go check it out. So I did, and I had a blast. A lot of fun. Game Time is where you want to go to get all your tickets. You can see where you're going to be sitting. That's crucial. And you're going to love it. So go check out Game Time and come back and tell Jimmy later so he can relay the message to me. Okay, so the other big news item that everybody was talking about yesterday was Ryan Grubb was fired from Seattle. Of course, Ryan Grubb was the offensive coordinator at Washington when they went to the national championship game under Kalen DeBoer. And then there was some talk that he was going to come with Kalen DeBoer to Tuscaloosa, but Seattle reached out and wanted him, and as the NFL does, and the way college is trending, by the way, if you don't do awesome in your first season, no matter the circumstances, they will fire you. And so they fired Ryan Grubb. Now, there may be some other extenuating circumstances. There may be some other things underlying there. I don't know. Not even worried about it, because that's NFL junk. I'm worried about Alabama junk. And Alabama currently has an offensive coordinator, to my knowledge. Yeah. So we would have to lose one offensive coordinator to hire this offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I kind of hope we do.
Really? I don't have a strong opinion about it, believe it or not. I'm still, for now, in the I trust Kalen DeBoer category. So whatever DeBoer thinks is best is fine with me. If he thinks that that we need Ryan Grubb to be our quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, sure. Grubb's more than qualified, and I think probably his time in the NFL has probably improved him. Frankly, he's probably a better coach coming in from after that year of NFL experience. But if DeBoer wants to stick with Nick Sheridan, I'm good with that too. Just whatever DeBoer decides. Now, I don't think some people acted like it was an automatic thing. Okay, Grubb's available, Grubb's coming. I don't look at it that way at all. First of all, we don't know that Ryan Grubb wants to work at Alabama. It's a unique high pressure environment. He's just getting out of a high pressure environment. Seattle owes him a lot of money. He may decide, hey, I'm getting paid really well. I think I'm going to take the year off and go to the beach, spend time with my family. Okay, that makes perfect sense too. So first of all, Ryan Grubb has to want to be here. Secondly, Alabama has to fire Nick Sheridan. And I don't know that DeBoer feels that Sheridan should be fired based on what happened this past year. Yes, I know a lot of people were not happy with the offense, but they were the fourth highest scoring team in the SEC and had issues.
With a 3 spot in the Oklahoma game, it should be noted.
Yeah. Only scored 3 and still finished fourth in the SEC in points scored, and had to work around things like, deficiencies in the lineup and injuries on the offensive line. So it could be that DeBoer's like, I think Sheridan did a pretty good job, all things considered. I'm not going to fire him, and that I understand that. So I'm just curious as to see what DeBoer's going to do. I would celebrate a Ryan Grubb hire, and I'm also feel good about what we've seen from Nick Sheridan so far. But we will see, because there'll be a new quarterback and a new lineup next fall. So I'm curious as to how this works out like everyone else. I just don't consider anything automatic like some did yesterday.
God, you were the Billy Mumphrey cockeyed optimist out of Seinfeld if there ever was one.
I don't feel strongly that Ryan Grubb is a certain upgrade. I know that if Alabama fans think that way, I can point out a few Seattle Seahawks fans laughing at you. I mean, the way coaching works right now is, one man's treasure is another man's gold, or one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's how that works. Because in the NFL, it's just like musical chairs.
We screw up cliches and sayings worse than any
use cliches.
Two human beings.
We screw them up anyway. We shouldn't use them, and then we screw them up anyway. But the point of the NFL is so funny because, like, Chicago's like, I can't wait to get rid of our offensive coordinator. He stinks. And another team's like, oh gosh, we need to fire our guy and hire Chicago's guy. I mean, Grubb was obviously not universally beloved by the Seattle folk. But hey, Sark was fired by the Falcons, came to Alabama, and in my opinion is the best offensive coordinator.
Saban wasn't beloved by the Dolphins. I mean, he wasn't fired. He left on his own accord. Bill Belichick was not loved by Cleveland. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things out there, and yeah, you and I screw up more than members of the Mile High Club, but that's another thing. But I'm not like, I write off people's NFL failures. I write them off quickly and easily, because here's the thing. Show me an offensive coordinator who had Tom Brady. I'll show you a offensive coordinator lauded with praise. Show me an offensive coordinator who had, I don't know, give me a bad quarterback, Jimmy. I need to have one. Who was that? Zane Wilson? No, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, with who's we spent a lot more time flirting with people's mamas. Apparently, he showed me an offensive coordinator at Zach Wilson. I'll show you I'll show you an offensive coordinator people hate. So
it is all about the dudes. I think it's all about the dudes in college too. Coaching's probably more important, and coaching's probably a little more important in college.
Okay, so saying that, okay, here's the thing. You want to, I'm not saying you're giving him a pass, but you're trying to at least paint a picture of Nick Sheridan isn't as bad as the people who think he's bad think they are.
Maybe not.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yep.
But I would say, okay, he was also an offensive coordinator who had Jeremy Bernard, who had Ryan Hollywood Williams. His name is Hollywood. Mm-hmm. He had say what you want to about Jalen Milroe. He is an Adonis. Mm-hmm. Or if you don't like him, then you decided not to make a change. Or you decided not to necessarily change your game plan and just say, okay, we're just going to run him like a thoroughbred instead of actually throwing.
I'm just saying, not that Sheridan is awesome. My position really is jury's still out.
You're saying he's not awful. And
he's not awful. He's clearly not awful, because you have the ingredients to have an awful offense at Alabama this year, and they finished fourth in the SEC in scoring. It might have been awful to some Alabama fans, but compared to their SEC peers, it was not awful.
We no longer live in an era of grow on the job, though, because you no longer live in an era of our quarterback will learn the system in year 2.5, or our running back will learn to pass block next year, because they'll be gone. Everybody's gone, including, by the way, probably fans and boosters. So I think we're now, again, everybody wanted the NFL. I don't think they ever said, people actually said, I want college to be the NFL. They'd say, look at the NFL and how successful it is. Why can't college be that successful? And my point was always, I don't want to be like the NFL, though. I don't mind that we're successful. We need to do our own thing. But look how much we are becoming the NFL now. Yep. And so when you are the NFL, you have no more patience. We were running out of patience without that designation. But now that we have that designation of NFL Light, we have zero patience. There are already people. We had a meeting with Zach Blackerby of Locked on Auburn, who's technically our boss because he's the boss of over all college stations. And he was making a joke like, well, when after y'all fire Kalen DeBoer next year, because, everybody's going to be so tired. It's not crazy to say that. I'm not saying he's going to get fired. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be fine. But I'm saying it wouldn't be nuts. People already hate on Hugh Freeze at Auburn despite recruiting successes. A lot of people want him gone. Yeah. And because we have no more patience. And that's sort of a sad state of affairs. But it's also something that I know I'm being a bit of a hypocrite, because I'm saying, yeah, I'm all for firing Nick Sheridan and hiring Ryan Grubb. All right, let me tell you all about FanDuel, as I do every day, because FanDuel is loyal to their core. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Look, go check out the website. Don't take it from me. I don't know what I'm talking about generally. But FanDuel knows what they're talking about. And their website and their app is the best. Go check them out. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $250 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, how about a few little odd and end things here? I checked out ESPN this morning, because I check them out just about every morning, but they came out with a new mock draft. And I'm always interested, because you and I were talking yesterday about how, Jalen Milroe, Jihad Campbell, Tyler Booker, we need one of those dudes to be drafted in the first round to continue our streak of first-round draft picks. Well, guess what? They have Jihad Campbell going to Tampa Bay Bucks in the first round at number 23. They also have Tyler Booker going number 30 to the Ravens, which I love. I would love for Tyler Booker to be there to help block for Derrick Henry. I mean, I'd love that pick for him. But they don't have Jalen Milroe going in the first round.
They do not.
No. A lot of people
do they have a third quarterback going in the first round, or is it just Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward?
Okay, so they do have Cam Ward going one. I'll have to zip through this, but they have Cam Ward going one, which I found interesting. That's probably what I'd do. I mean, it is going to be Tennessee, but if I'm Tennessee, I think I'm trading that pick. So I mean, this whole list may be null and void.
Today, I would take Shedeur over Cam Ward, but it'd be close.
All right, so and they have Shedeur going to Cleveland too, which means Shedeur Sanders' career is going to be in the toilet, because Cleveland can't do anything with quarterbacks. And I hate it, because I think he's a pretty good quarterback. There are some GMs I've read that have said I would not pick him in the first, second, or third round, Shedeur Sanders, which I found just interesting. They have no other quarterbacks. I'm looking through here very quickly, just skimming. I'll tell you an interesting name, though, Jimmy. How about this? Trey Amos going 24 to Green Bay.
Yeah, good player. Good player. I hate that he left Alabama, but for all those that see that, and want to relive him, Damani Jackson and Xavier Brown were pretty good. And
Yeah.
I think today, as we sit here today, I think both Damani and Xavier Brown may be also first-round picks when their drafts roll around. I mean, so I hate that Amos left. He is a good player. Good for him. Thanks for the 1 year he gave us. But Alabama's fine at quarterback.
Now,
Alabama's always going to have a good player.
All right, I'm feeling a lot better about Alabama's streak continuing because I just looked up CBS mock draft, and they came out with one this morning. It has Jihad going number 12 to Dallas.
12. Wow. That is high for an inside linebacker.
That's high. And I'm scanning through to see if they have any other quarterbacks, but so far, and they've got 1 and 2 the exact same as ESPN. They also
Ward,
have
then Sanders.
I'm sorry,
Ward, then Sanders.
Ward, then Sanders. Yeah.
Interesting, but no. See, I think if Jalen Milroe sticks at QB3, it doesn't really matter whether he goes in the first round or not. Still pretty impressive stuff to be the third quarterback, you know. And if you're QB3, you're definitely going day 2. I mean, no question. And by the way, I've predicted that for over a year that Jalen Milroe would go in the second round because of why? Because I've comped him to Jalen Hurts all along, and that's where Hurts went. So that's why I've been saying Milroe's second round, and that's what I believe will happen. And it justifies him leaving early, and it justifies a big investment in the team, and it means Milroe's solidly in the NFL for the length of his rookie deal, and then we'll see what happens over that 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, and I've just pulled up Bleacher Report's mock draft, which certainly isn't quite as I'd say reliable, even though maybe I don't know who am I to say that, but they have Tyler Booker going in the first round. CBS didn't have Tyler Booker going in the first round. So
neither did ESPN. ESPN did, CBS didn't. But now
ESPN, yeah, that's right. And I'm seeing Bleacher Report so far as I get here towards the bottom of this thing, they don't have Jihad going in the first round. So
no Jihad, no Booker.
Yeah, I mean they've got no Jihad, but they do have Booker.
They do have Booker. Okay.
Yeah.
So all 3 of those credible mocks have Alabama's streak continuing, which is what really matters here. One of our final news and notes, moving on, just because I'm personally excited about this. Tim Watts reported this today, so I can go ahead and say I do this anyway. But Kalen DeBoer, one of his many stops today, recruiting in-state, one of his many stops today, St. Michael's in Fairhope. They have a prominent quarterback, the son of Philip Rivers, Gunnar Rivers, Kalen DeBoer, going by St. Michael's this morning in Fairhope to talk to Philip Rivers, and I'm sure express interest in his quite talented son, the quarterback. He is a 2027 quarterback, so he's a rising junior, but certainly a name to watch because I think Gunnar Rivers is going to be recruited coast to coast to be a national elite quarterback prospect.
Yeah, he's also going to be visiting, I know, Sedarian Morgan from here in Alexander City very shortly, which I love, and I love it. Sedarian Morgan is a dude. It's really kind of funny. The 2 guys that started the AHSA radio network, Randy Lee and Brett Pritchard, and they actually do the play-by-play in color for BRHS, and they've been doing it for, 20 years or whatever. And they're both Auburn guys, but they're nice people. And Brett pointed out to me the other day that apparently Sedarian Morgan didn't make any all-state list and not even honorable mention. And that just blows me away because if you've seen Sedarian Morgan play.
Is it about production? I mean, did he only catch 5?
I think his production was pretty good. I think it's really about hype because there's nothing. It is really difficult. I've learned this from it's easier now because of Huddle and because of highlights and everybody's got, the internet got their, that the internet's catching on. Mm-hmm. People have got their finger on the pulse of things a little bit more, but it's really difficult for a guy in Mobile who writes, even if it's for AHSA stuff, to understand how good somebody in Huntsville or Alex City or Montgomery or Birmingham is.
Yeah, Huddle.
They never get to see it. But I just found that to be so. I was like, what? By the way, I didn't even fact check that. He may be on an honorable mention list.
I'd say there's a difference between being selected to an all-star team like that and being a great prospect at the next level.
There is. But his production's good. And frankly, if you watch him play and you don't put him on an all-star list and realize, okay, he didn't have it wasn't like they're Thompson, where they got dudes everywhere, and I think that's always a safe bet. If you're wondering who should I put at All-State, well, the kid from Thompson's probably pretty good.
Check your Thompson first. Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just found that weird. I'm going to tell y'all, Sedarian Morgan's a thing. He's really good, and I want him at Alabama. So.
Slam dunk top 5 in the state.
Slam dunk
top 5 prospect.
By the way, he's good at slam dunking too. He's a good basketball player.
Arguably number 1, really, arguably.
Yeah, but he's also going to see Tank Jones. I know that.
Tank Jones, other Mobile area kids, Ellis McGaskin, who I'm a huge fan of. His highlight tape is fun. I know most people, and they enjoy highlight tapes as quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. Ellis McGaskin's a linebacker at Williamson.
Yeah,
he's a dude. His highlight tape is like, pop the popcorn before you watch that one. It's good.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.